Hello everybody, my name is William and welcome back to another Roblox Bee Swarm Simulator video where today I'm gonna give you guys a bunch of like a sort of guide to get honey quicker, you know, because I know everybody in this game wants honey because that's like the main goal of the game is to get more honey. So the first step to get more honey is boosting. What boosting is basically using a bunch of materials and getting winds to be able to go into a field, and then all of those buffs will buff the amount of pollen you get, which will get you honey a lot quicker. So boosting is the first thing that you're going to want to do to get honey quicker. I actually have a little in-depth tutorial up here in the top right-hand corner of the screen. Now, don't click off just yet. You'll probably want to know a bunch of this stuff from here before you go and watch that. So after this video, you can go ahead and watch that if you want a more in-depth tutorial on boosting. So the first thing that is going to get you more honey, as I said, was boosting. And now the second thing that will get you more honey a lot quicker is your amulets. Your amulets are these right here. I have a king beetle amulet, which will give me more pollen from the clover field and the strawberry field, which isn't very useful to me, but to newer players or red hives, because that strawberry field boost, it is actually pretty useful. So like the percentages that the percentage of pollen from the strawberry field, which is 74 from this king beetle amulet, will give me 74% of the amount of pollen that I collect from here. Clearly, obviously, that just makes sense, you know. So the more pollen I get from this field here is the more honey that I'll get, you know, because it's translated over from pollen to honey because you convert it, and also instant conversion and all that. So yeah. So essentially, like, your star amulet will get you a lot more honey. So, because it gives you buffs such as instant conversion, pollen buffs for like white, red, or blue, or even total pollen. They will also give you convert rate buffs and all that. It just depends on like which amulet it is. The bronze star amulet will give you 2 extra buffs apart from capacity. So 9% pollen and 4% critical chance. That critical chance and pollen is going to help me get honey a lot quicker because critical chance will get me more pollen, and so will the pollen multiplier itself. Like the silver star amulet right here, that's more convert rate, which will convert my my capacity faster. Like at the hive, my capacity will convert a lot quicker. This critical chance and this blue pollen buff right here will definitely help me get more honey. The gold star amulet right here, which will give me more capacity, more pollen from my bees, so that's more pollen from the bees, which is more honey from the bees. And this multiplier right here, this 26% pollen, or no, sorry, white pollen, will help me collect white pollen a lot more, so that's more pollen, more honey. You know, you get the point of it. It's the higher the numbers, the better, pretty much. That's a way to simplify it. But also, you've got to pay attention to which numbers exactly, like white pollen, red pollen, or blue pollen. Depends on which one you have the most of. So definitely pay attention to your amulets here, because these will be very key in getting honey. Like for me, I focus on white pollen, right? Because I'm a white hive, so I have white pollen on my supreme star amulet. I have white pollen on my supreme shell amulet, and I have like pollen percentage on my stick bug amulet, and I also have honey from tokens because, well, the majority of my honey as a white hive is from gummy star, and gummy star pops into a bunch of honey tokens. But that's a conversation for another video because that's really off track. But yeah, so amulets will buff the amount of honey that you get. Also, your equipment will help you get more honey. It will help. The better equipment you have, the more honey you'll get, and so that translates over to honey quicker, you know. So let's say I have the gummy mask on right now, which you can't see the stats at the moment, but the stats are this, and all these stats are like better multipliers than this mask over here, right? So it's all down to stats and statistics, you know, all down to percentages and numbers to get your honey quicker. Definitely a good thing that you should have to get honey quicker are these things right here called clouds. And when you're boosting, you're going to want to use a cloud vial, which is in your inventory right here. To get cloud vials quickly, you can go ahead and server hop around for windy bees, which is very easy, and it will get you cloud vials pretty quickly. But if you go underneath this cloud here, it will give you a temporary buff, and normally without a gifted windy bee, it's going to be 25% pollen, but since I have a gifted windy bee, it's 50% pollen. So yeah, that will buff your pollen, and it will definitely buff the amount of pollen you're collecting, and it will buff the amount of honey that you get from collecting pollen because of instant conversion. Another thing that will help you get honey way quicker are these things called jelly beans. And what jelly beans are is another key component to boosting. So basically a jelly bean, I'm gonna go ahead and trigger every single endgame player who's watching this video right now. Well, if you're endgame, I don't think you'd really be watching this because these are all things you should already know, unless you're new to endgame and you want to understand all this stuff. But here you go. So I'm dropping jelly beans, and so basically I go around and I collect these jelly beans, and these jelly beans will give me multipliers, right? So these multipliers will multiply my pollen and give me more honey. So they're like buffing my stats here, and you can see all your stats by clicking on the system page of your UI right here, and you can see all of your stats right here. My white pollen is obviously the highest stat that I have because I'm a white hive, and I have all my amulets mainly focused on white pollen because I farm in a field with mainly white pollen. And mentioning specific fields takes us over to the next part of this video. video. A way to get pollen faster is going to your system and paying attention to what your highest pollen multiplier is. So like for me, that would be white pollen. So I'd want to come over here to like the spider field or a field with mostly white flowers, and I will collect from here, you know? So I'll go ahead and just grind around, but well, I wouldn't grind around, but I'd boost instead here. So like I'll boost wherever I have the most pollen of, you know? The higher the pollen multiplier, the more honey you're gonna get. So, but yeah, so I just collect from here. I, you know, boost in here, but I normally don't grind because you shouldn't grind when you're near endgame. You should mostly boost because that's where you're gonna get most of your honey. So definitely paying attention to your pollen multipliers will definitely help you pick out which field you're supposed to farm in, and also that's determined by winds, and winds is part of boosting. So you're gonna want to pay attention to what your pollen multipliers are, and you're going to want to pay attention to your winds multiplier. And your winds, you can go ahead and get from the wind shrine up there. Like you get winds for specific random fields depending on what you donate. So let's say I'll go make it. Oh wait, no, I made a donation earlier. Actually, I can't really go ahead and do that because I'm redoing this video because the last time that I tried making this video went terrible, so I had to re-record it. But you donate something to the wind shrine, something of decent value, like let's say a silver or gold egg, and it will give you random wins for random fields. Like let's say I get pepper patch, I will have a specific amount of instant conversion for this field specifically, and so that will help me convert all the pollen that I'm collecting instantly, so you get more honey that way, and you can stay in the field a lot longer. Another thing that is useful is gumdrops. When you drop a gumdrop, which is this thing right here, when you drop one, oh wait, I got Gummy Star active. That was that was really funny timing there. Wow, okay, ignore this thing. Ignore this Gummy Star thing. Not everyone has this. This is just something that I have because of my amulets. Like, other people have this, obviously, but like I'm saying, like, not everyone has it, you know? It's from my Supreme Star amulet. So completely forget you didn't see anything. This star right here doesn't exist, all right? It's not real. It's all a figment of your imagination. All right, so goo depends on, like, your pollen multiplier. So however much pollen that you pick up from the flowers is how much goo you're going to get from the flower. So it pretty much doubles the amount of pollen you get into honey. Goo will give you like an amount of honey that is based off the amount of pollen that you collect. So goo is just pretty much straight instant honey, you know? It's not pollen, it's just immediate honey. So the amount of pollen you collect is the amount of goo you're gonna collect. Obviously, you're gonna end up collecting more pollen. And also boosting the field with like glitter or a field dice. So basically what glitter does is if you go over here to a field and you use a glitter, it will give you 100% more pollen from the field that you glittered. So let's say this clover field right here will give me 100% more pollen. Expending materials such as red extract. So when I use a red extract, I get more red pollen. So that way from like, let's say, where is it? My red pollen percentage, it went up. It used to be lower than this, you know? So materials will buff the amount of pollen you collect for specific things. So be sure you activate your buffs when boosting because that will get you honey a lot quicker. So long story short, boosting is the fastest way to get honey. And if you want an in-depth tutorial on how to boost, you can go ahead and click the card in the top right-hand corner here and watch my video on how to boost. But yeah, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next Roblox Bee Swarm Simulator video or any other video that I publish. This video probably was a little hard to understand because it's like kind of confusing, but I hope it made sense. I tried to simplify it as much as I possibly could. Goodbye!